Ready?
Got open man. DJ Moore. End zone. Touchdown. Touchdown Bears.
I am Jeff Joniak.
Blitz is on. Down he goes. Brisker.
What was it like playing for Coach Ditka?
I don't want to answer any questions like that.
Pressure coming. He's in big trouble. Down he goes. Montez Sweat.
And etc.
Now, Bears Etc. brought to you by Chevy Drives Chicago, the official truck partner of your Chicago Bears.
Emerging from an early bye week, the Bears barrel into a baker's dozen of brawls, beginning with a Monday night battle with the Commanders of Washington. With Super Bowl winning Bears guard Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. We discuss on episode 176 of the Bears Etc. podcast. This episode of Bears Etc. brought to you by Chevy Drive Chicago. The official truck of your Chicago Bears. How do you like the alliteration that I did at the beginning there, Tommy? The Bears barrel into a baker's dozen, which is, of course, 13, the number 13.
So I do. You're a lyrical gangster. So when I hear something come out of your mouth like that, when you talk about a baker's dozen, I really appreciate that. However, all this has taken place in Landover, Maryland.
Yeah.
We're not in Washington. We're not above the Washington Monument or the White House. We are miles and miles away.
But I believe we're staying in just in the downtown area there by the Capitol and stuff. So, Tom, that's a harken back to old days when we go to Washington. We'd be right around the Washington Monument.
Well, maybe you go to the White House and sleep in Lincoln's bedroom. And, it was funny when, as we were appreciated at the White House for the 85 championship team a couple years ago, when Obama was walking around with a meet and greet and everything, McMahon asked him if he could go up and take a nap in the Lincoln bedroom. And Obama goes, no. And a matter of fact, he pointed at some Secret Service guy and said, keep an eye on this guy and don't let him out of your sight.
That was amazing. Adam Rank, who joins us now from NFL Network, NFL.com, the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank, all things Chicago Bears and NFL football. Adam, thanks for joining us on the podcast. Appreciate you getting up early out there in L.A. Are you already at the office?
Yeah, this is it. When my friend calls me to come be on his show, but I want to make sure that I miss miss traffic. For anybody else, I would have been like, yeah, it's too early for me. I got to do this. I got to do that.
All things being truthful, I honestly thought I forgot the Central Standard Time, and I thought I would anger a punctual Tom Thayer. This could have meant 11:45 Chicago time, but I woke up this morning, it said 9:45 Central, so I apologize for the early rise and shine, but it's always good to see you. And
it's my pleasure.
We got in the middle of this. Tom was talking about the visit to the White House to celebrate with those guys, and we were in the Rose Garden at the White House. All those years later, after that Super Bowl, I got a picture with President Obama, which I still can't believe I got it because one of the Bears employees, Larry Mayer, I asked him to take the picture as he's coming down the line to shake everybody, and he couldn't figure it out. So you know who it was, Tommy? Mitch Friedman reached over, grabbed the camera, saw what was unfolding there, and took a picture from the back of my head. Obama smiling. I introduced myself because he listened. I don't know if he still does, to Tom and I on the broadcast, being here in Chicago. And then there's a picture in the background of the White House photographer, got the front view. So I got both, front and back. Thank you, Mitch Friedman. Thank you, White House photographer.
Former videographer of the Chicago Bears during the 80s, yes.
Yeah. So there's a lot of info there for a Bears fan like yourself to delve into.
No, I love
you would
it.
have enjoyed that.
No, and it's cool to think like Obama listens to you. Like you guys like that. He's part of your audience.
Listen,
and he has it.
I'm hoping the Pope listens to us. He's a Bears fan.
Right?
Can you imagine that? If the Pope listens to Jeff and Tom?
He's probably got an NFL Plus account. He probably goes and listens to the radio broadcast, which I like to do. I will sit there and throw in the earbuds. It makes me look very antisocial, but sometimes I don't care because it depends. Like you want to hear your guys. I want to get your perspective more than I want. Not to throw anybody under the bus, but like I know they do a nice job on CBS or whatever. But you want your hometown guys, and it makes it more community oriented.
Authentic.
All right, Adam, I got to ask, because you're kind of a double-edged sword. You're a hometown guy, you're a Bears fan, but you're on the national scope of the NFL. if I'm interviewing you, not as me, but as someone else, and I'm going, Adam, what do you think this week about the Washington Commanders Chicago Bears game? Do you think about last year immediately, or are you moving forward?
You know, you can't help but think of last season because of what happened and the butterfly effect of everything that went down. Obviously, in the moment, it was a not great experience. I can't imagine what it was like for you guys being there. But when you look at what happened, who is coaching here, who are the players here, the direction of the organization, the way it's heading right now, you're like, okay, long term, this has worked out pretty well. Short term, it was awful. But you do think of that. And I, more so than anybody else, there's two guys who it stands out, or a couple of guys that actually it stands out to me for. Is number one is DeAndre Swift gets dragged by Bears fans. I'm like, you guys remember DeAndre Swift basically putting the Bears in a position to win that game with his heroics in that one. I think about Caleb, because Caleb, his entire rookie season was marred by the fact that he would rally the Bears and get them in position to win a game, and then we would find a way to lose, specifically this game. Because for everybody who was always, you know, and this was something that helped them propel Jaden Daniels to the Rookie of the Year and all, like the rookie season looks much different if Caleb gets credit for a victory in that game. And then ultimately, the guy that we're thinking about the most is Tyreek Stevenson, of having to wear that and not only letting down 52 other guys on the field, not only letting down his coaching staff, but a fan base that's pretty passionate, and it can be brutal at times. You guys know as well as anybody. So I think about redemption arcs for them this week moving forward, but ultimately I don't think about it in the sense of, and I know that Kevin Fishbane brought up like, hey, the Bears are 0-11 or whatever the stats are after the bye. You're like, you realize Ben Johnson coached none of those teams. None of that stuff matters to me. What I'm focusing on right now is moving forward and how I can't wait to see what Ben Johnson does out of the bye week. I know that Detroit did very well out of the bye weeks when Ben Johnson was a part of that staff. So I hope that's a trait that he brought over from Detroit.
Yeah, a couple of 40-point explosions. Yeah, you know what? At this point now for me, and getting to know Ben a little bit, all the interviews that I have to do with him before a game or after a game with Tom and I, and a podcast on Mondays, I'm learning little snippets about him. But I don't know if you feel this way, Tom. I want to say this out loud for the first time on this podcast. I'm so intrigued and excited for every single snap of offense because I don't know what's coming. It could be a simple handoff. It could be 11 handoffs in a row, like the game that they played a few weeks back. I don't care. He's got me on the edge of the seat. I just can't wait till it all comes together and everything is just clicking, and this is a machine of production. And his reliance on the run game in Detroit is not so much a reliance, but an authentic way to win a football game. I just can't wait to see it all come together. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah. You know, Adam, one thing I do appreciate about Ben is no two game plans are going to be exactly the same. He is strictly based on the vulnerabilities of the opponent and what his game plan is going to look like. So when you talk about the excitement of this game, Monday Night Football, this is nothing from the past. And I keep saying you got to wash last year out of your head and you got to think about going forward. So I'm going to see about Ben and the Chicago Bears going into Landover, Maryland, and what type of game plan he's going to put together for this game, just like it'll be interesting next week for New Orleans.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It is refreshing to have somebody who I think trust is one of the big things. Like I just feel I don't have as much anxiety as I would last year or previous years, where I feel like, you know what, he's got it. He knows what he's doing. And I go back to what happened with the Monday Night Football game, the opening drive, which was a perfect opening drive. And it reminds me of the way that Andy Reid comes out of bye weeks, where his teams always look prepared, always look ready to go. And that is one of the things that really impressed me coming out of the gate, week one, driving down the field, just carving up Brian Flores and that defense and going out there and looking fantastic, which gives me a lot of hope going into this game that we should see something similar. And that always amused me too. Like for the first couple of weeks, the Bears would open up with these amazing opening drives and people like, oh, they're only these scripted plays. And I'm like, bro, you don't understand. Like we weren't even doing that over the last number of years. Like you don't know how refreshing it is. Like to feel like a normal team. Like you watch any NFL team go out there and they're like, hey, first 15, they drive down for a touchdown or field goal. You guys know as well as anybody, we did not score a touchdown on the opening drive over the last at least last season. So for Ben to have this team that prepared, like I'm very excited for it. And I'm curious too, because obviously you talk about erasing the past and it's easier said than done for a lot of Bears fans. And if I think for a lot of the players, they will go out on that field and be like, oh God, here we go again, or here we are again. Not like here we go again, but like here we are again. We're in this building. This is going on. Ben wasn't there for that game, but I feel like he's in tune enough to know that this is a huge opportunity for a lot of guys and is going to approach it as such.
Good news, Chicago. United Airlines is getting brand new planes with all the bells and whistles like Bluetooth connectivity, screens at every seat, and room for everyone's roller bag. United, proud to fly the Chicago Bears and you too. Hey, before we go on, where can people find you? Because I go on X and you're everywhere. But tell us a little bit about it. And I know we've talked about this before, but I love that your official bio has the word irreverent used.
Yeah.
I love that. You're not irreverent. You're wonderful.
Hey, that's very nice of you to say. Thank you. It's been a lot of fun. Obviously, for Chicago Bears fans, I would implore you to come check out the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank. We've expanded our shows this year. We've added a lot more offerings. I know there's a lot of great Bears content out there, and I understand that there's a lot to consume. So if there's something or a show that kind of speaks to you, we do a fantasy show on Mondays. We hang out with my friend Nick Rohde, who is a ardent Bears fan, on Tuesdays, and then Greg Braggs from CHGO joins us on Wednesdays, and then I usually have a guest over the weekend, and then we do wrap-ups and all that stuff. So if you listen, even if you can't listen to every show, just subscribe and whatever. Like join the YouTube, whatever. Like if you watch one of them a week, that's cool. I really appreciate that. But also, I'm out there representing on the NFL Network. I'm on NFL Fantasy Live 5 days a week. Every day I'm on that show. I will be on Thursday wearing Bears gear. They do a thing every Thursday is Bears gear, or excuse me, every Thursday is a situation where like, hey, it's game day. We want to get you ready. So who was the first Thursday night game? Was it the Chiefs? No, it was whoever won this. It was the Eagles or somebody. So the wardrobe department had put like an Eagles sweatshirt in my ward, and I'm like, what is this? They're like, oh, it's game day stuff. And I'm like, I'll tell you right now, I'm wearing Bear stuff or not. Like I'm not, you will not catch there's a long story that I won't go into here. There's a piece of Jacksonville clothing that if you ever see me in, don't feel it's weird. It's an homage to a good friend of mine who played quarterback at Portland State. It's a thing between us. But other than that, Bears gear only. So I'm out there doing that. And also, if anybody is a fan of Jim Rome, I've been doing a show with him. Wow. Somebody who grew up. I was born in Chicago, but spent most of my time. I'm sorry, this is a Chicago podcast. I can say Hoffman Estates. You guys will know where that is. And I spent a lot of time in Southern California. So now doing a show with Jim Rome's kind of a trip. Like, oh, I grew up loving that guy. And that's been a lot of fun too. So I try to do it all. Try to do as many things as possible. Try to keep after it and just getting, just having a good time.
Adam, as a West Coast guy now, I think of the international games for you. I think of the international game for the Dylan Gabriel's family that were out in Hawaii. So does it make your weekend longer? Do you get up and have your alarm set whatever time the starting time is? Or how does that affect your full scope of NFL work?
Thankfully, I'm a fan of the Premier League. So my body is used to getting up on the weekends to go out and watch those games. I'm an Arsenal supporter. They don't usually get that 4:30 a.m. game on the West Coast, but still pretty early. I kind of enjoy it. I think it's really fun to get up for those games. Now, obviously, that I have a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old. They're not getting up that early most of the time. So it's the one time where I can truly just sit down unfeathered without working on homework or doing anything like that, where I get to sit back and watch a game. I really love the experience. And it's interesting because for those of you in the Central Time or on the East Coast, that's our every week. Like we get up, the games start out here on the West Coast at 10 a.m. It's a lot of fun. I like waking up. It's weird to me when I go somewhere and I'm like, God, nothing happens until noon. Like, how do we fill the time? So it's a good time. I really enjoy it. I will get up this weekend and watch that game from London. I remember last year we watched the games at a local brew house. And we had convinced the management to open the place at 6:30 in the morning to watch the Bears and Jags. And it was a tremendous experience. I wouldn't want to do it every week, but as a one-off, it was tremendous.
That's awesome. Bold, vibrant, and brewed right here in the U.S. It's the perfect beer for tailgates, backyard grills, and post-touchdown celebrations. Celebrate responsibly, Chicago. Cruz Blanca is what we're talking about. Adam Rank, our guest here. So I see you like Roma Dunze right now in your rankings. Number 11 is wide receiver 4. And on the flip side, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, RB11 in your fantasy football rankings. And people, I'm not a fantasy football league player, so you can educate those who are. Tom and I do not participate. I don't know. My daughter keeps asking me for advice, and she doesn't ask anymore. She says, Dad, you don't know what you're talking about. So
why don't
there you go.
Have her ask my boy Rank.
Yeah, Caitlin, Tommy. Caitlin says, Dad, I thought you knew this stuff. Fantasy football is a whole different ballgame.
Right.
It's a math problem. We're trying to figure out statistics and probability, and a lot of factors go into it. And with Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, we saw last week against the LA Chargers, he really broke out in a huge way. He was a guy that coming into the season, when you looked at the running back room of the Commanders, which had Austin Eckler, Chris Rodriguez, Jeremy McNichols, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt looked like the guy who was going to be the best. And, I'm not there every day. I'm not, I get to see, the game, so I don't know. So it's difficult for us. We're guessing, trying to gauge the probability. But last week he was able to break out, kind of carried them to that victory. This Commanders team came out a little bit slow against the Chargers. Now, obviously, the fumble by Quentin Johnston led. That started everything going the other way for the Commanders, because the Chargers, it felt like, were getting close to putting that game away early. They also had the punt return overturned for that, which with Lad McConkey was running out there. So they switched it up in the second half and really went with Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. He carried them. Jaden Daniels did some good things too as well. But the one thing that I look at and I'm like, oh boy, because we're coming off a game where Ashton Genty scored 3 touchdowns against the Bears. And I know everything changes week to week, and we're 2 weeks past that, but there's a huge opportunity for Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. But at the same time, the Bears are getting some guys back too. So I'm hoping that Kyler Gordon can help solidify that run defense a little bit and keep him in check.
Hey, Adam, with fantasy football, when you look at all the offensive line injuries and you think of a Justin Herbert missing 2 offensive tackles, you think about what's going on in Minnesota, blah, blah, blah. When you look at fantasy football, do you always have to take into account offensive line injuries for offensive performance?
100%. That is a huge, huge part of the analysis and what we're trying to figure out when we're trying to match the pieces of who's going to perform well, who's not. You look at Joe Flacco going to Cincinnati and you think, hey, Joe Flacco can stretch the ball down the field. He's got a big arm, but he's playing behind that offensive line that has been beset by injuries this season. It's not been playing well. So you got to factor those things in. And with the LA Chargers, that has been a huge blow. Like not only losing Rashawn Slater, but going out there and losing Joe Alt as well. It's been a very tough grind when people are looking at, and it's tough too, because people just point to the Chargers and they say like, oh, they're doing it again. You're like, well, they've lost 2 pretty impressive pieces on the offensive line. And it actually kind of speaks to how well the Lions have played. this season, coming into this year, we're trying to gauge, how is our friend David Montgomery going to do? And you're like, well, they lose Frank Ragnow. There's been some changes over there, but they've been pretty impressive. So you also have to give credit to those teams that are also doing very well on the offensive line. But it is a huge factor of what I do.
How about Caleb Williams? Give us your thoughts on what he's doing. He's doing much better, in our opinion, in the pocket. All the situational football numbers, I brought this up on our Bears Game Day Live and Game Night show on Fox here locally, that, the 70% target that Ben Johnson has put out there for him for his entire performance is a hard thing to reach, although there are a lot of quarterbacks right now in that range. But it's the situational stuff, the third down, the deep ball passing, red zone. Those numbers are way up.
100%, and when you look back at Jared Goff and during his time with Ben Johnson, he reached 70% completion percentage once in his time with Ben Johnson. It was last season. So I understand it's a goal that Ben Johnson has set out for him, but I'm not judging it solely on whether he gets 70% of his passes completed. What we're looking at too, because one of the knocks against Caleb was that he doesn't play in structure. He doesn't anticipate throws. And then you go back and you look at it and you're like, well, no, he's anticipating throws. You think about some of the throws that he's making to Roma Dunze and some of the stuff that he's doing, locking his feet, getting good footwork, being calm in the pocket. I think back to the flea flicker against Dallas, and I don't know if DeAndre Swift was hit when he was flipping that ball. Like that ball hung in the air with what felt like an eternity. Somebody playing slow pitch softball out there. The one thing that really impressed me is that Caleb didn't panic, didn't rush his throw, still stepped into it, as much as he could with the rush collapsing on him, and delivered a great ball to Luther Burden III. At that moment, I'm like, you know what? I'm feeling pretty good about the progression because it is going to take some time. And I think anybody who's ever played golf, and if you understand, like if you've ever gone through golf lessons, there will be times where it gets worse before it gets better. But are you trusting the process, and are you building? Are you stacking these small lessons for the greater overall view? And I think that's what we're seeing out of Caleb Williams. It's not perfect. It's not as good as it's going to be, but it's getting better each and every week. And in addition to being able to make those anticipatory throws and all the other stuff, he is still the off-platform guy that can go out there and make a big play. It's funny to watch, the media rave about a throw that Drake May makes or somebody else, and you're like, you understand Caleb does this all the time, in addition to the great throws. So I've been really impressed with him. Everything we thought about him coming out of USC is starting to pay off. So I am really encouraged with what we're seeing out of Caleb Williams.
How do you tell a cashier you're a Bears fan without telling them you're a Bears fan? Well, with the Chicago Bears PNC Bank Visa debit card, which gets you exclusive discounts on Bears merchandise. Find out more at pnc.com/BearsCard. Quarterback situations, you think you're solid and then you're not. You go and look at what's going on, obviously, in Minnesota, Cleveland.
Cincinnati,
the Giants, New Orleans, Baltimore without Lamar Jackson for the time being. I don't know when he'll return, but it's never going to be any different, is it? You can't have enough quarterbacks flood into the National Football League, and we hear the 26 crop was going to be outstanding. Now all the analysts are saying, hey, tap the brakes a little bit. So how do you factor that in your fantasy football advice to folks? And, you can't have three great quarterbacks on any one team, but teams are trying to load up as best they can.
Yeah, trying to look at that situation where Arch Manning felt like the automatic pick coming up here to the point where his grandfather was saying, like, I don't know if he's coming out or anything like that. So it is interesting to see that break out because not only are you looking at the next crop of quarterbacks, you wonder how long some of these other guys who are currently playing in the NFL are going to hang on. Aaron Rodgers, sitting there in Pittsburgh, they're 4-1, but he hasn't been necessarily destroying it like he did back when he was in Green Bay. He hasn't been that version of Aaron Rodgers, but he's been efficient. So you're always trying to look at this quarterback play, and as great as this draft class was 2 years ago, and you think about Caleb and Jaden, Drake May, Bo Nix going out there, and I'm still a big believer in J.J. McCarthy as well. Michael Penix is getting his opportunity in Atlanta, and you think of like such a great class that came out, and you're like, gosh, yeah, the NFL is going to be stacked at quarterback. And then you realize, oh, Cooper Rush might be starting this week. It's a big difference. And I think that for so long, Bears fans have been sitting here waiting for their franchise quarterback, going through so many hits and misses and everything. And to finally have a guy that we feel like is going to be the franchise guy, that is the quarterback that we've wanted for so long. It really makes football much more enjoyable, as opposed to like, I hope this guy's good. I really get a feeling that Caleb Williams is good. And when I look around the league and you see some of these other situations, you're like, you know what? We're in a pretty fortunate spot, and it makes me excited for the future of the Chicago Bears.
Later in the year, the Bears do play the Cleveland Browns, and I think they have one of the more complicated quarterback scenarios going on right now, because you do have an undersized Dylan Gabriel. You have the fans clamoring to put in Shedeur Sanders, which is no guarantee. So it's going to be interesting to see. They get rid of Pickett, they get rid of Flacco. Now they have these two young guys
and Bailey Zappi.
Yeah, and Bailey Zappi. But, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how these two rookies figure in the plan moving forward.
Yeah, it's funny, too, because anything that happens in Cleveland, they go and ask the third-string quarterback. And I'm trying to think of other situations around the NFL where whenever something happens, you're asking the third-string quarterback. And, of course, Shedeur went out there and did his pantomime last week, which – is not great. You never want to be a spectacle when you're a third string quarterback. So Cleveland, I'm curious to see how that plays out. I do like Dylan Gabriel. I think I'm trying to remember the last time that the NFL had three left-handed quarterbacks at the same time. I don't know. It's hard to imagine when there was one. We had Kenny the Snake Stabler,
Jim Zorn, right?
Jim Zorn. So we had two.
Steve Young.
I'm trying to think if there was a time that all three of them were together, but yeah, this is for a lefty myself. I'm enjoying that.
You're one of the 10%, huh? You're one of the 10%.
It finally looks normal. You're like, this is the way it should look.
Do you kick right-footed? Do you kick right-footed or left-footed?
No, I kick right. It's crazy. I kick right-footed,
yeah.
But then I'm goofy-footed when I ride a snowboard and skateboard. It's great.
Here's something interesting too. I'm righty, but I cannot shoot pull right-handed. I have to shoot pull. I can't do it. What is that? I
don't get it.
We were just talking about because Tress Way's a lefty punter, but not a lot of lefty punters throw lefty. They throw righty. So there's they got to learn how to use their left hand when they're holding the punt before they punt the ball.
It's crazy. My daughter kicks left-footed. She plays football, soccer to you Americans. No, I'm just kidding. I'm American. This is how I establish myself whenever I'm coaching. I will throw out little terms like that. I will use Celsius instead of Fahrenheit just to kind of build some curiosity. They're like, oh, this guy must know what he's talking about. He's using Celsius, so he must be a soccer expert. I'm not. But she kicks left-footed, but she throws right-handed. She does everything else right-handed. Another player on my team, she kicks left-footed, but she does everything with her left hand. So it's odd. I don't know how to explain it other than I'm goofy.
One last quarterback question for the both of you. Baker Mayfield, is he an MVP candidate?
I would say 100%. I really love what he's been able to do. It's interesting. I think he pointed this out the other day that, we see the thing where he's jawing with the Seattle fans. And a couple of years ago, that was immature Baker. And now it's like, hey, this is locked in, motivated Baker. I really do appreciate the fact that he's been able to kind of resurrect his career. I look at him and being out here in Southern California, I actually watched Sam Darnold play in high school football as well. So to see those two guys last week get after it, two guys that were on the Carolina Panthers roster a couple of years ago, guys who went to places where quarterbacks don't always succeed and are able to go out there and play at a high level. So I love what Baker Mayfield's doing. I'm a huge fan of his.
I do admire what Baker does and has done throughout his whole career. He's a really resilient guy. Adam, just one more question about Monday.
Yeah.
I'm a big weather watcher. There's a nor'easter approaching the northeast coast. 1.2 inches of rain expected in Landover, Maryland on Monday. When you're talking about all the fantasy and everything, do you take that into consideration?
Yes, but then we're pot committed by Monday night. So we're really like, you've got to make that decision on Sunday. what we're going to do. But thankfully, there's 2 games on Monday night. So if you have somebody you can pivot to. Now, obviously, somebody like Roma Dunze doesn't bother me at all. I'm like, whatever. DJ Moore, I'm good with. Even DeAndre Swift. It's the non-running quarterbacks, I think, that is the most, it impacts the most. Like if you had Matthew Stafford out there or Joe Flacco, for instance, you're like, I'm going to downgrade them a little bit because they can't compensate with their legs. But for guys like Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams who can go out there and make some production with their legs, I'm cool with it. It does factor in slightly, but yeah, not a complete detriment.
I went to college for the first year and a half as a meteorology major. Yet Tom steals the weather thunder in every single conversation related to football. He is so far ahead of it. Tom, I did not know this. This is serious.
Yes. Yeah.
This is a serious situation. A nor'easter.
Yes.
Wow. Tom, you've impressed me again. That's tapping into some really good stuff. So let's break that down a little bit. Does this put and I'm asking both of you, the offensive lineman and the football expert here, the running games then become possibly extremely important in a situation like that? We don't know the timing of when that all is going to fall, though, and there could be wind related to a nor'easter, of course. What do you think?
Well, for me, it is the Bears have been struggling to get the running game going, and Ben Johnson talked about it this week, about how he's taken that personally, how it always seems like anytime there's a schemed open hole, there is somebody waiting for them. So more so than the weather, I do want to see, are they going to be able to execute the game plan and get those running lanes opened? The ground conditions and everything else will play out the way that it does, but really getting that stuff sorted and getting ready to go. I do feel like the Bears will have to rely on that. Like, this is a must. You must get that ground game going. And on the other side of the ball, talking about it a moment ago about Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt playing so well last week at SoFi Stadium, giving him an advantage against a team that has struggled against the run this season. You really need to go out there and make sure that you are executing on the defensive side of the football. I know that Dennis Allen has some complicated schemes, and it's going to take a little bit of time for this team to really get going. But, yeah, you really hope they can shore that up.
Wind 12 to 14 miles an hour with gusts up to 32. It's a tight end game, Adam. You got to give those close proximity pass completions and have a little run after the catch. And when you look at Colston Loveland and Cole Kmet, maybe the Bears have a little bit of an advantage over the tight ends they have between Bates and Zach Ertz and the rest of the crew in Washington.
Yeah, I would love to see Colston get out there and get healthy and get all the stuff that we've been looking forward to when they drafted him, running out there with the 12 personnel and getting both those guys in the mix, because that would help out a lot. You're absolutely correct.
Score big at your local Chevy dealer. The Chevy Silverado will take you through this season in style. Chevy Drive Chicago, official truck partner of the Chicago Bears. We end with you, and thank you for so much this time and getting up early. We do appreciate it. Tom, I don't know if you caught it, but Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt goes by Bill. And we interviewed one of the great linebackers in NFL history, London Fletcher. He kept referring to him as Bill. And I've heard this, but I didn't know this was a true thing. But so Bill is from a childhood nickname that comes from his short haircut resembling the animated character Little Bill. Tom, are you familiar with this particular animated character? I'm not.
But Adam, glad you filled me in because I would have continued.
He goes by Bill.
By his real, yeah.
Adam, this is right up your fun alley. Well, do we know Little Bill?
This one escaped me as well. This one, I usually am on the pop culture, especially the more obscure, the better. I dropped a reference to a show called Parker Lewis Can't Lose a couple of weeks ago. And it's weird because whenever you make something that obscure, the people who cling on to that, where you will say something and then, like nobody cares. And then you'll make one vague reference and you get 5 notifications on social media like, oh my gosh, Parker Lewis Can't Lose. Love that show. But Little Bill is one that escapes me. I was hoping it was something innocuous like that. There was another guy who had a great reference to, gosh, I wish I could remember what it was, because I was like, how did this come about? And it was the most obscure I'll probably think of it once we hang up. I'll be like, oh, that's what it was, as it always goes. But yeah,
Adam, I made a reference the last week in Las Vegas game to the original cartoon Underdog.
Yes.
And Jeff and Doug Coletti looked at me like I was making something up. I wasn't. They looked up the episode and they found it.
Underdog. That's a great one. I was a huge Underdog growing up.
And don't think for a minute, now this is a shot in the dark. You mentioned at the top of this show, way back at the beginning, a friend of yours, a Portland State quarterback. The only
Neil
one
Lomax.
that's the only name that comes up. So are we talking about the Neil Lomax?
No, it wasn't Neil Lomax.
Okay.
It was, no, I know. Listen,
Neil Lomax was outstanding. St. Louis Cardinals
quarterback. Portland State had a lot of great quarterbacks come through. Chris Crawford was my friend's name. Another lefty who came out. He played back there. He was a couple of years older than me, but he is one of those guys that, you know, we'd always talked about, that you think about the timing of your career, that had he played in this era of football, would have been one of those guys similar to Dylan Gabriel, who would have gotten a chance to go out at the NFL level. It was one of those things like you're not quite 6 feet tall. You're not getting an opportunity. So nowadays he probably would have been given a chance, probably would have been able to hang on to, because he was a great mobile quarterback and throw on the run. So it was, it's just one of those things. It's bittersweet, but, a great quarterback. But yeah, Portland State, shout out to them. They did a nice job of developing some quarterbacks, including Neil Lomax back in the day for the St. Louis Cardinals. I don't think he played with, he couldn't have played in Chicago, but yeah, St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah, St. Louis Cardinals. Hey, Bears fans, Steinhoffel is a proud partner of the Chicago Bears. This Bears season, Steinhoffel is partnering with Special Spaces Illinois to create dream bedrooms for children battling cancer. For every false start caused by the Bears defense during a home game, Steinhoffel donates $1,000 to Special Spaces Illinois. Shop in store and online at steinhoffels.com. And good news, Chicago United Airlines is getting brand new planes with all the bells and whistles like Bluetooth connectivity, screens at every seat, and room for everyone's roller bag. United, proud to fly the Chicago Bears, and you too. Adam Rank, appreciate your time. Hope it's a great Monday nighter. Hope you're beaming after the outcome as we fly back home for an early arrival and get ready for the New Orleans Saints in Week 7. How about it? Thank you for your time, buddy.
No, thank you so much. Appreciate you guys having me on.
For Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak, and for Adam Rank, check him out on all his social platforms and on NFL.com, NFL Network, and all that good stuff. The Sick Podcast with Adam Rank and more. Thanks for listening, everybody. Please subscribe now on your Chicago Bears official app, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Bear down, everybody.